Good morning, learners and viewers. Welcome to the session for Entrepreneurship MMPC018. Today we will be discussing about block 3, that is establishing a new enterprise. We start with unit 6, that is identification of a business idea, or rather we can say an opportunity. There are two types of business enterprises, which are B2B, that is business to business, and B2C, that is business to consumers. One of the most important and very critical tasks for both types of enterprises is identifying the gap between requirement and availability in the market. It is relatively easier if you are planning in B2B enterprise or planning to venture into the capital goods sector. That is, your product will be used as input by other sectors. Whereas production in the B2C sector, or in other words, operations in consumer goods, are relatively difficult. Even in the consumer goods sector, it is comparatively easier to enter the sector which already exists, but difficult to enter the market with a new. Estimating and evaluating a demand which does not exist in the market, but there is a demand for that product or service is quite a challenge. If you start thinking of a new product, there are 101 such products. So one should also start thinking about which segment of society you want to start with the activity. The very basic question before starting an entrepreneurial venture is it for male, female, or children? Whether it will be used in rural area or people attract your attention or interest in urban areas or city life. Evaluating your own capabilities also is equally important. Now, what are the sources of new ideas? I think we have to start with what people are thinking, looking for. Anticipating it may be the beginning of an entrepreneurial journey. Whether you are thinking of a new product or service which will improve the existing production processes or improve the customer experience. Finding the gap is the most challenging job. If close substitutes of the product are already available in the market, in which way you are going to provide a differentiated product? Why people will purchase your product? The best and maybe the first way to find out the gap is direct observation. And the second one is problem application. We will start with direct observation. It is the first and the basic method to visualize new ideas. For this, keep your eyes open and look around yourself. How that can be done. First, travel. New ideas can merge during travel as one gets the opportunity to see new things, places, and meet new people. Second one is window shopping. Unintentional visit to the market plays a very important role in the process of accumulation of new ideas. Reading is the traditional way to keep you about the product and people's lifestyle. Fourth one is web search. Nowadays, various advanced tools are available on social media, which gives almost real life experience and through which one can access demand for the new product. Social listening. It is not necessary to talk to people face to face, but you can interact, ask questions, and get suggestions through social media such as Facebook, Instagram, etc. What are the advantages of this method and what precautions have to be taken? If we talk in terms of the advantages, it may be taken as first step. The idea of being an entrepreneur germinates at this stage. As there is nothing pre-decided, chances are high that a fresh, new, and relevant idea will emerge. Now, what precautions have to be taken? It is difficult to get purchasing intention in a particular society or across societies. The process from inception of an idea to finally selling the product in the marketing is hard, long, and arduous. Unstructured and structured oral communication. Casual talking gives a fair understanding of the requirement, or if already using a similar product, what kind of change they are looking for. This can be done by talking to families, friends, and people who are going to use it, or maybe using similar products. Talking to people from the distribution channels or salesmen about the positive and negative points of the available products gives an insight for the required changes in the proposed initiative. In the current scenario, searching online for getting more information, experiences, and what others in the same line have to share for business. Here we can see that if you are looking for a new ideas, it can be through observation or oral communication. Conceptualization of new ideas can be written communication and service, use of online tools, and feasibility of the idea. Idea needs to have potential to turn into a profitable venture. Probability of expanding demand. Now, what are the methods of generating ideas? Through the same what we have discussed earlier, that is direct observation and communication. One can find the segment in which one like to operate. Interesting tools are available on the internet that can help one identify alternative ideas. The final decision usually depends on the nature and peculiarities of one business ideas. Some of the internet tools and a couple of such platforms are e-survey that can be done through Google Form, a Google product which is easy to handle and free of cost, can be organized for an opinion poll on the question you seek to find out. Evernote. There are chances that ideas come and go without you being able to note them down. Evernote assists you in noting down every thought instantly. Ninja asks. It is a team of incredibly creative authors who can help you to brainstorm and craft high quality business plans for you or even for your team. Now, there is a need to make an idea a real one. For that, some steps are first of all, pinpoint the identified gap through brainstorming and reverse engineering. Write all the gaps which have been detected on the board. Then consider both positive and negative points of all proposed products. Filter them and come to the most suited option. While the problem-solving methods are identified, in case of the process of brainstorming, in case of reverse brainstorming, the cause of the problems are discussed. Then comes SCAMPER. That stands for substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to other use. Eliminate and rearrange, which is used to find out off-box solution for the detected gaps between the demand and supply. It starts with examination of the existing products, which may be under consideration, and then Scambia is applied to prepare a most effective substitute. Third one is mind mapping for product, services, scale, or location. Mind mapping is a diagrammatical layout representing the gap between demand and supply and how it can be filled. What are the solutions in mind? Tasks, concepts, items, or words are arranged and linked through a long linear graphical layout. Identifying the segments of society for which you would like to enter the market. Entrepreneurship is a painful and tough struggle in the beginning. The product or service must be very near to your heart, and you need to be strongly feel for that. After evaluating the market, evaluate yourself also. Scan the government policies. From time to time, government also encourages entrepreneurship or production of small products through fiscal policies as rebate on custom duties of the inputs or tax benefits on finished products. These policies must be studied well while taking final decision on which option to be pursued. Scanning and screening of business ideas. Business idea may be scanned and screened in following ways. We will start with SWOT analysis, that is SWOT analysis. All human beings are unique and they all are blessed with some qualities, but at the same time with some limitations too. They must examine and evaluate their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for a particular project while taking a decision to proceed with it. Strengths are unique qualities, resources, or competitive advantage that the individuals or team may possess. They may be of two types. First one is internal strength, that may be the knowledge of the business or previous experience of the working in a similar business. So, when previous experience to your advantage is course of building the present one. Second one is the external strength. Business relationship with other players of the industry or with the other players of the business ecosystem, which may benefit you in running the business. Then second part is the weaknesses. The end result of weakness is inefficiency in the system. The weaknesses may be of two types: weakness of the entrepreneur or weakness of the production process. And if we talk about weakness of the entrepreneur, while selecting the activity, the entrepreneur has thought of doing something which may be very much in demand, but he or the team is not equipped to handle it. Second one is the weakness in the production process. The production process has not been optimally designed due to lack of knowledge, capital, or other resources, which is ultimately causing inefficiency and keeping you back. The third part is opportunities. These are the avenues which you can explore. It is an external factor provided by the environment and the entrepreneurs need to have the capability to access and exploit it. The fourth one is threats. They may be anything that could negatively affect the business. Again, it may be of two types: anticipated threats and unexpected threats. If we talk about anticipated threats, the real world is full of uncertainty and unexpected situations. However, the entrepreneurs may be mentally prepared to face some of these challenges as they are evident to appear, but only time and magnitude is known. You can usually get a sense of your business threats or competition when you run a market analysis. And on the other hand, unexpected threats, the situation that emerged due to COVID-19 was unexpected for the market or even the demonetization of the Indian currency 2016. Maximum viable product, that is MVP. Releasing an MVP in the market means releasing the product in the market with minimum characteristics and improving it further after getting responses and feedbacks from them. The products may be upgraded further in the due course of time. Following steps may be taken to develop a minimum viable product. Take an existing substitute of the product you actually want to produce. Consider the inputs, their amount used, and the time of gestation. Substitute any input which may be polluting the environment from the input mix with a substantial substitute of that input. Add some additional features may have become mandatory in the present market or may have pointed out in the market segment. Now float it in the market. Invite early users to give their feedback and incorporate them into that product. Break-even point. Most young enterprises die within 5 years of their growth because they may not have the calculating the break-even point correctly. At the budget preparation level, they plan money for at most 2 or 3 years and believe that beyond that period, most of the present years the profit will be used as next year's required capital. Normally, it doesn't happen or it doesn't work. Now, this is basically a typical graphical representation of how we represent total costs. If you see a line, I'm sorry, along OX it is quantity and along Y axis it is the price. Fixed cost, that is a line starting from T, that is the fixed cost. And two lines are starting from O, that is variable cost, and your price at which the market will be available in the market. Basically, total cost is sum of fixed cost plus variable cost. Where total cost and the price at which the product will be available in the market crosses each other. That is the point where what we call it as break-even. But mathematically over there at that point, expenditure incurred is equal to revenue earned. On the left side of it, that means on the left of the break-even point, here in that area, expenditure incurred is greater than revenue earned. And on the right side of the break-even point, it is expenditure incurred is less than revenue earned. What is the formula what we use for calculating the break-even point? It is break-even point is basically the ratio of fixed cost to the difference between the price of one unit of the product available in the market and the variable cost of producing one unit. Now, how the selection of a suitable business idea is worked out. Following three steps needs to be taken by an entrepreneur. Step one is selection of a product. Selection of a suitable business proposal must be based on market analysis. And for the product whose demand is expected to grow in the future, and preference is given to those products which have regular demand, as any entrepreneur always want to get the maximum regular return on that investment. Very often, a first generation entrepreneur selects a product which may be very much in demand but could not run it sustainably due to lack of knowledge or interest in the area. They just opted by looking at the huge demand. Step two is evaluating business ideas. You have come up with a list of products including services which qualifies your checklist from a demand and supply perspectives. Now, you have to conduct a comparative analysis from all the selected options. Ask an expert as well as users and compare the initial investment of all selected options. Step 2 is basically here discussion with experts about available options, gathering opinion from the prospective users, evaluating expected investment and return on the investment from various available options, and expected expansion of the demand. In short, expected return, continuity of the demand, and expected expansion of demand are some of the criteria on which business ideas need to be evaluated. Now we move to step 3. That is selection of business suitable business idea. The ultimate objective of any entrepreneur is maximizing the profit, which can only be achieved by increasing revenue earned from selling the product in the market or minimizing the cost of production. Increasing the price of the product may be wishful thinking of for all the entrepreneurs, for all the enterprises, but it may not be possible in many cases due to the prices of other substitutes. So, effort needs to be made on control the cost of production. Here we can see that selection of suitable business ideas prompted by uninterrupted supply of inputs, sufficient labor with required skills. If you are going to get business idea under the existing macro economic environment and the environmental impact of the product. Then comes your market research. Market research is defined as the process of evaluating the feasibility of a new product or service through search or research conducted directly with potential consumers. This method allows business organizations to reach to the target market, collect and document opinions to make informed decisions. The stage of market research is one of the most important stages of task taking decisions for an entrepreneur, as it is very crucial to find the gap between the market demand and the available supplies. This can be done through two methods. First one is asking buyers indirectly. How this can be done? People dealing with buyers can give you very pragmatic suggestions in the following ways. First of all, start with opinion of the salesman or people working in the distribution channel. In this method of market research, estimation of future demand is made on the basis of salesmen or people who are working in the distribution channel, as they have a very close association with the existing product. On the basis of their close and regular association with the user, their views about positive or negative aspects of the product and which feature may be added or subtracted to enhance the utility of the product may be very useful as a first estimate, which certainly undergoes very rigorous analysis before taking the final decision. What are the advantages? This method is very simple. It saves time and money. No statistical tool is used. As the opinions are given by the experienced people, these are almost correct. But if anything has advantage, it has disadvantage. This method may be useful for only a short period, but cannot be used for a long run market research. In the dynamic environment, people may give opinions about the existing good, but cannot give very dependable opinion on what kind of product they are looking for to using it in future. As salesmen are not trained for making estimations, they can give users opinion, but are not able to give changes in the dynamic economic environment. Then comes your Delphi method. The opinion of a panel of experts is used in this method of market research. They are given a series of questions and are asked to give their opinion. Their opinions are fed into the computer for further analysis. In case of contradiction, they are asked to create a consensus on their views. Sometimes experts do not have an equal level of knowledge for all questions, which have been asked to assign grade for their familiarity with them. What is the advantage of this Delphi method? Experts with suggestions and recommendations are more reliable And on the other hand, this disadvantages. There is a possibility that experts could not reach a consensus. Experts' opinion may be sometimes biased. Then comes directly asking the buyer. That is the second method. The most reliable method may be the sessions, where each and every user is asked about the expectation from the product. But it may not be feasible, most often due to the high cost or time involved, or may not be required to have such a detailed viewpoint as the product may be new or an open field for everyone to guess. So it is advisable to ask from a sample of we will be following ethnographic method. The people are studied in the cultural background with the objectives of preparing a pan sketch of people in a particular culture against a theoretical background which is developed through grounded theory. For the ethnographic study, purposive sampling is adopted for whosoever may be interested to participate in the study. There is no fixed sample size. It may be it may vary from 5 to 30, and data gathering and analysis goes on simultaneously. What are the advantages of this method? It provides very rich data. It is appropriate to study a new aspect of human behavior or people in new place where a hypothesis cannot be made for the secret. And it does not rely solely on what the respondents report, but is based on the researcher's observation. If we talk in terms of the disadvantages, it takes a lot of time. And as based on the researcher's observation, it is difficult to maintain the required objectivity. Second method is statistical method. Statistical method may be of two types. First one is directly asking the prospective consumers, that is cross-sectional study. You have already decided conceptually the statement which is called the hypothesis, and now it is to be verified whether to accept or reject the hypothesis. A stratified random sample is the most common method in which members of the population are first divided into strata, and they are randomly selected to be a part of the sample. Now, the sample size can be calculated in the following manner. Suppose we have here the sample size for known population. Population size is suppose we take 5,708 samples. Assuming that it works at 95% confidence level and the error level is 0.05. Now, the minimum sample size is collected by using Yamada method, where margin of error is 0.05. Now, mathematically, its relation is capital N upon 1 plus n e squared. Now, here the sample size is known, population size is known, and margin of error is known. Simply putting up the values in the basic format, we get it as 373.8, which can be taken as 370. That means from a sample of population size of 5,708, we can, for our study, we can select any 374 items. Now, when sample size for unknown population. When the population is unknown, a sample size can be derived by computing the minimum sample size required for accuracy in estimating proportion by considering the standard normal deviation set at 90% confidence level, that is 1.96. Percentage picking a choice of response at 50%, and the confidence level is 0.05 plus minus 5. Now, how does that work? For that, this basic formula is used. That is, n is equal to z square into p P, 1 minus P upon E square. Where P is the proportion of the population which has the attribute in question, and Q is 1 minus P. E is the margin of error. And the Z value is taken from the standard normal deviation, and that is taken from Z table. By choosing a 95% confidence level, zero point 0.5 standard deviation, and a margin of error of plus minus 5%, by placing up all the values over this formula, we are going to get 384.16. So we can take it as 385 seconds. This is the two methods, statistical method, from where the samples can be calculated. What are the advantages of this method? As all measurements is done at one point at one time, there is good control over the measurement process. And since follow-up is not required, this is one of the most effective methods of demand analysis. Now, disadvantages: the time is very important, but it is neglected in this method. We are talking only about the numerical numbers. Accuracy of the result depends on the accuracy of the sample size and its cost. Then comes calculating trends through regression, that is time series analysis. From time series data, trend fitting is a very common method to estimate demand in market research. The most common is visually fitting the line. Calculation through regression is most scientific. The following steps are taken. Find out the independent variable on which dependent variables depend from the literature available. Secondly, through the method of least square, derive the regression analysis. Normally we follow this method. So that regression line is y is equal to a plus bx, where b is the slope of the line and a is the implied result. What is the advantage? It provides the most scientific calculated values and it gives an accurate trend. But its disadvantage is forecasting for future on basis of a past data has limited acceptability as the dynamic macroeconomic variables affect the micro level data direct differentiate for the product which is being forecasted. Accuracy in measuring independent variables affect the accuracy of the dependent variable significantly. Then comes selection and validation of a business model. Though the concept of business model does not have a theoretical grounding in the business studies or in economics, but a business enterprise must employ it either explicitly or implicitly to describe the design or architecture of the value creation, delivery, and capture value. In simple words, a business model is a representative of the movement of money, material, and their direction around the production and distribution of any product with the help of symbols as well as mathematical and statistical tools. It is developed to get an understanding of the cause and effect relationship between variables and to measure the phenomena more accurately. It is similar to professional behavior of an automobile engineer who makes a model of an automobile before making the actual automobile. The model may be similar to an actual automobile, but certainly simpler than the actual. The model is made for doing many testings, or if the machine fails in any test, the engineer can quickly locate the fault before it is considered for the production. The business models are very helpful in planning, implementing, and validating any change. Since the growth of the digital economy during the 1990s, the term business model has emerged as a buzzword in the business area. The entrance or the entry of information technology, that is IT, into business has changed the traditional framework as a format. Even small startups can manage to compete with large and well-established companies. According to Offentucci, companies with well-formulated and innovative business models, are able to manage higher profit margins and have competitive advantages over their competitors, who may not have given the emphasis on designing their own business model. How the selection of a business model is done. The first appropriate business model may be a framework in which all resources are optimally utilized, leading to profit maximization, and users are getting value for their money. The following factors may be known or given while selecting the model. Which sector the enterprise belongs to? What will be the scale of production? Are resources available or it has to be generated? Which selection of society does the enterprise target? When the above factors are given, a model needs to consider the profile of the buyers, such as the age of the customer, the place of residence, and staying in an urban or rural area, and whether the prospective buyer is a male or a female, what is their income level. These are very important questions to reply. Knowledge about the nature of the demand is very significant for selecting a business model. After obtaining such information, an ideal business model decides how optimally the resources can be combined to get maximum return. Selection of a business model is a challenging task for an entrepreneur as the business operates in a dynamic. The model also needs to be capable of constantly re-engineered so that the business model accommodates the changing market situation and operates at an optimal level. Here we can see that what are the factors for selecting and validating a business model. What is the sector of the enterprise? Scale of the production, resources available or has to be generated. Then the process to be followed for production, financial sustainability, technological sustainability, maintaining environmental sustainability. And what for whom you are working, that is the profile of the customer, age, place, education, and nature of the demand, or whether it is regular or seasonal. Now, validation of a business model. Model validation is a process through which it is systematically evaluated to see whether the business model has been able to create value for the stakeholder of the business ecosystem. It is very important to recheck the whole production process and be sure of the following. First one is financial aspect. The production is being done in the most cost-effective way, which will deliver the product of pre-decided quality at a lower cost. Whether the firm achieves financial stability, which refers to its ability to generate attractive profits, and whether the firm would be able to avoid the heavy cost of maintenance and have a better chance in long-term success. Second one is technological aspect. Whether the firm has been able to acquire non-polluting technology, because this is very important. In some of the sectors it is mandatory, but even if it is not mandatory, they act for a non-polluting one for the two reasons. The customers come next in the ecosystem, whether the customer is getting value for his money. Some of the indicators to test the value for your money are design of the product is very important from the point of convenience and comfort. And second one is price of the product needs to be comparative with the other substitutes available in the market, especially if the product is catering to the middle class. For the costly product, there should be facilities for loans and payment facilities in easy installments. And if we talk in terms of larger society, at present time, corporate social responsibilities, in short we call it as CSR, has become very important, and some studies have shown that it has a positive impact on customers' preferences and firms' profitability. Not immediately, but a CSR plan may be in line and needs to be implemented as soon as possible. Now, most important part of this whole course is the financing and enterprise. Having checked the feasibility of business ideas and prepared the project report, it is the time for an entrepreneur to look for the option for financing the project. There are many challenges related to finance that the entrepreneur has to face at the initial stage of the business development. In the seed or startup stage, the entrepreneur may not have sufficient collateral to be offered to the bank for availing the traditional term finance. Moreover, in the initial stage, the funding requirements will be small and the risk will be high. So, investors may not be interested to invest their money. If the entrepreneur is starting something new for the first time, there will be no proven commercial success for this, for her business, his or her business idea. So it will be very difficult to attract the external investment, and the internal funding may not be sufficient to execute the business idea. At initial stage, the entrepreneur may not have reputation or credibility in the market to attract the external investors. Initial public of what we call it as IP is not viable option for raising the funds at this stage, as the new venture may not be eligible for IPO as per security and exchange board guidelines. Source of the finance is the most important factor. In every business, capital can be arranged broadly in two sources. First one is the internal source, and the second one is the external source. If you talk about internal source, when entrepreneurs manage the fund from within the enterprise, it is known as using internal sources. This refers to the owner's own money, which is known as equity capital. It also includes the deposits and loans given by the promoters or directors as the case may be. Since the promoters raise the personal loan on their investment in life insurance policy, provident funds, fixed assets, or any other forms of investment. If the business is already running, the entrepreneurs retain a part of the earnings and flow back in the business for expansion. If we talk about external sources, external sources include all other sources which are not internal. External sources of fund may be further divided into two parts. The first one is debt financing, and the second one is equity financing. What is debt financing? This includes the borrowing from banks and financial institutions for meeting the short term, that is working capital, and long term, that is term loan capital requirements. It also includes issues of debenture, while angel investment, venture capital investment, private placement, and private equity form the part of equity financing. Now you can see over here there are two sources of income or of two types, that is the internal and the external. Internal are promoters' own contribution and retained earnings, and the external is from the outsource. And this again in two parts, that is the equity and the other one is debt. If we talk about equity, it has angel capital, venture capital, private equity, IPO, private placement, and in debt, they are borrowing from the banks and financial institutions issues of debenture. The entrepreneurs may face a dilemma here. He or she may be confused whether to use equity financing or debt financing option. It is essential to understand at this point of time that neither 100% of debt or 100% of equity financing is desirable. If the entrepreneur funds the entire business with the use of debt capital, then there is always an obligation to repay the debt along with the interest. Here, equity financing has an advantage, and equity capital is never required. If the entrepreneur funds the entire business with equity capital, it will result in total dilution of ownership and control. Further, shareholders will not get the advantage of trading on equity. Trading on equity means use of debt product leads to higher earnings per share for the shareholders of the company. A business enterprise needs to maintain a proper balance between the use of equity and debt in its capital structure. This is known as optimal capital structure. What are its characteristics? Optimal capital structure yields maximum return with minimum cost. Such capital structure should be flexible to accommodate the future requirements of the capital for a change. Use of debt should always be within the repaying capacity of the firm. The capital structure should ensure proper control of the promoter and should not result in complete dilution of control. According to the packing order theory of finance, preferences are given to the sources of finance in some order. The entrepreneur should first prefer internal funding option over external funding. In external funding also, the preference should be given to debt financing over equity financing. This is because as we move from internal funding to debt funding to equity funding, the risk of financing increases and so as the cost of financing. What are the stages of business development and sources of funding? The funding needs do not remain constant over a life of the business. At different stages of business development, requirement of funding changes. Hence, the entrepreneur should always be aware about the source of funding as per the stage of business development. The first stage of business is pre-seed funding stage. Here, the entrepreneurs just have an idea. The funding is needed to test the feasibility of the idea and conduct the market research. Here, there are no customers or market. During the seed stage, the businesses can rely upon use of bootstrapping techniques. This concept is established later. Once the idea seems feasible through market research, business moves to the next stage, that is startup stage. Here, the prototype of the product or the services is made. According to the findings of the market research and pilot testing, changes are made in the product or the service concept. Seed and startup stage both are preliminary stage of venture development. The business in these stages rely upon their own money, that is personal saving, or borrow from the family or friends. One can also think of availing government grants at this stage. Nowadays, the entrepreneurs can approach angel investors or crowdfunding platforms to fund the business need at this stage. In the next phase, now the customer base is ready. The entrepreneur wants to expand his business with new products or service. expand customer base and market. This is an early expansion stage. Here, the venture capital investors helps the entrepreneur in raising the funds and expanding the business through a series of fundings. Once the startup is mature and at the advanced stage, you can also think of raising the debt capital from the banks and business institutions as we have discussed earlier. In the last stage, when the startup wants to grow further and diversify, the option of offering the share to public, that is IPO, private equity, private placement, etc., can be considered. And this is the last stage of the startup funding stages. Now, what is bootstrapping technique? Bootstrapping technique works on the principle of a penny saved is penny earned. These techniques are a collection of methods to minimize the need to seek outside financing by a startup. Every successful company would have adopted bootstrapping at the initial stage of their venture development. At this stage, where the investors are not willing to risk their money, it is a good option to bootstrap the ventures and bring them on self-sustaining mode. These techniques also bring a discipline on the pattern of cash flow. Some of the examples of such techniques are buying used equipment instead of investing in new ones, renting the physical space instead of buying the land and building, working from home to save upon the infrastructure cost, availing discount from the suppliers, employing the relatives and friends at below market levels, and obtain advance payment from the customers. What are the advantages of this bootstrapping? They can retain the complete ownership of the business as there is no involvement of external investment. And secondly, building a business from a scratch without the support of the investor gives a sense of achievement and accomplishment to the entrepreneur. Angel investors. Angel investors are also known as seed investors, are high net worth individuals who invest directly into promising entrepreneurs' business in return for equity shares in the companies at initial stage of venture development. Angel investment is also known as informal risk capital, as their investment approach is not very professional or formal, such as venture capital investors. Following are the features of angel investments. Unlike traditional investors, angel investors invest in unconventional and highly risky investments. Angel investors bridge the gap between early founders, friends, and family financing, and later institutional financing. Many angel investors are entrepreneurs themselves, as well as corporate leaders and business professionals. They have a very good knowledge of technology and business economy. What are the reasons for angel investment? Besides the financial motive, that is, the return on investment as ROI, there are multiple reasons for investment by angel investors. Yeah, as many of the angel investors are entrepreneurs themselves, they know the common problems faced by many of the budding entrepreneurs. Hence, they want to come forward and help them. Secondly, sometimes angel investors want to support the entrepreneurs from their home ground or native place. Third one is angel investors have entrepreneurial spirit and are always moved by their hunch for innovation and creativity. By investing in new business ideas, they will always stay connected with new inventions and stay involved. Angel Investment Network in India. How they are working. Angel Network is a formal association of angel investors and provide a platform to the entrepreneurs to raise seed funding. These networks basically connect the entrepreneurs with the interested investors. There are many such networks active in India, such as Indian Angel Network, Chennai Network, and many more. All these networks have different objectives and governance structures regarding sourcing of investment deals, evaluating them, involvement with investees, and finally exiting from portfolio companies. Angel investment scenario in India. According to the Indian Venture Capital Report 2021, India is one of the leading startup hubs globally. Indeed, this development is reflected in growth of angel investment in Indian startups. The report shows that investment by angel investors increased 24% to 341 deals in 2020 from 275 in 2019. And this trend is visible in the figure. Venture capital investors. The second one is this. Venture capital investors are also equity investors, such as angel investors. They invest in high risk, high reward business ideas, while the traditional investors prefers to invest in businesses with proven technologies. Venture capitalists are eager to fund a project where the entrepreneurs are pursuing new and unexplored areas. Venture capital funding is raised to scale the existing operations or to develop a new product or service. Venture capital is a formal risk capital, as the approach of VC is more professional and formal as compared to angel investors. VCs invest at early expansion and expansion stage for equity in the venture. As they share ownership with the promoter, they are active investors and provide hands on the approach to the management. Structure of venture capital fund. Venture capital invests in the ventures through a fund. This fund is usually in the form of partnership. VCs serve as general partners. The investors who provide money to set up the funds are known as limited partners. Insurance companies, universities, endowment and pension funds can serve as limited partners. Limited partners only produce funds, so they are known as passive investors. While general partners are active investors and they assist and advise the portfolio. General partners invest the money contributed by limited partners in the promising entrepreneurial opportunity. The general partners usually get 20% of the capital gain earned from making the venture capital investment, while the remaining 80% will be shared among the limited partners according to their investment contribution in the fund. With this, we will be concluding today's session.